All right. So, throughout my time creating content for the internet, I've noticed Christians interacting with non-Christians, or the content that non-Christians have made, atheists, agnostics, whatever, just kind of viral propagators, whoever, responding to them in their comment sections, either on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever, and responding in several key ways that if I could just gather all of the Christian community, just sit them all down into one place and just say, please stop, it would be 9 specific and then a 10th bonus that shouldn't even need to be stated. All right, so, and it's fun because of the fact that when I first was putting these together, I just had little scraps of paper that I was kind of just writing them down randomly on, and I was just kind of putting them together in a way that kind of tried to make sense out of it, and it ended up being a perfect, or almost a perfect, like D&D alignment chart with them. But anyway, that's just an Easter egg. So the first one that I see a lot, that when I see it and when I read it, really my primary response to it is really just, isn't that cute? Honestly, it kind of comes off a little bit pathetic, and it's, don't you want to go to heaven? Don't you want to see your loved ones again? Don't you want to live in a world that there'll be no pain or suffering or death? Like, don't you want to live in a world like that? And the theology of it is, first off, it's broken. That you don't just get to go to heaven because you want to, and just like, even just rationally, philosophically, just because you want something doesn't even mean that it's real. I would love to be able to have a bionic arm or something. Like, there's a lot of things that we wish existed, or space travel, or visitation from other planets. Like, there's so many things that so many people would love to have, love to experience, but that doesn't make it real. So asking the question, don't you want to go to heaven, is just flawed from every point of view, because it's not, and beyond that, it's not sufficient to actually get someone to go to heaven. There's a lot of people who want to go to heaven who hate God, and if there was literally any other way around it, they would go to heaven to enjoy the luscious food and the golden streets and everything. They just don't want to be around God, and that's the reason why they won't go to heaven to begin with. It's because if you don't want God, then you don't want heaven either. So, number 2 is, why do you hate Christians? Why do you hate Christ? Or why do you hate God? Which, again, this is a flawed question to begin with, because the fact that, you know what, there's a lot of atheists and agnostics that they don't hate Christians. They don't hate Christ necessarily, like, if on a kind of prima facie way. What they don't like is religious imposition in the public sphere, in the marketplace. They don't like what they perceive to be lies or fairy tales. That's what they don't like. So ask them why they hate God, even though theologically, as a Christian, you come out of that anyone who doesn't love God hates him by default, because it's binary. But what the question comes across as is, why are you being so mean? Why are you bullying me? Like, it has that kind of a connotation, and just, it doesn't really fit that way in reality. Number 3, I have a conflicted relationship with. And it is, I'll pray for you, or I'll add you to my prayers, or I'll pray that your heart changes, something like that. On the one hand, I've been in ministry in various capacities for going nearly like 15 years, like a long time, in various different capacities, leading worship to youth ministry, children's ministry, volunteer, all kinds of stuff. I've been on missions projects all over the country. I've done stuff. And I've never yet had a person in person turn me down on an invitation for prayer. Some are like, you know, not right now because we're in public, that's embarrassing. But I've had a few where it's like, no, pray for me right this instant. I've never had someone just say, no, don't pray for me. But the person who's doing it, when you say, I'll pray for you, it sounds spiteful sometimes, of like, fine, I'm giving up on the conversation. I'm just gonna, I've had people interpret it on the internet as like a curse. Like, why are you trying to get your God to curse me now? Like, and it depends on how you say it and the context in which you say it, that it could be good or bad. But quite honestly, it usually just kind of comes across, again, a little bit kind of pathetic. Seen a lot of atheists who are like, fine, you can pray for me and I'll do the thinking for you. So it just doesn't seem to be super effective on that. If you are genuinely going to pray for someone, then just do it. They don't need to know that you're doing that necessarily. God, like, if you believe that prayer works, then they don't need to be aware. Just pencil them into your prayer list and move on. Number 4 is the statement, you wouldn't believe no matter what. If God was literally appear before you, you still wouldn't believe. And while that's probably a true statement, this is another one of those that it just sounds spiteful. Like you giving up on the conversation and blaming the other person for it. And that just sounds kind of sad, pathetic again. And even if it's true, why even say that? You think that you're going to change their mind or get them to try and backpedal off their argument just because I don't think anything would convince them? Like, what is the purpose, the mens rea, I guess, behind leaving that comment? Like, if you truly believe that there's nothing that could possibly change their mind, just swipe off. Like, just keep on scrolling. Just whatever. Like, why did you even leave that comment? Why did you waste both of our time in typing that out and sending it? So, yeah. The next is the statement that I see way too often, which is enjoy hell or enjoy your science as you burn it for eternity. Statements like that. And I hate this one the most, possibly. There are a couple others here that are tight contenders for it, but because if you are a Christian and you genuinely believe that hell is real and that people are going there, that should break your heart, not incite spiteful, spitting comments like that one. That I remember a story of David Hume, who was a famous atheist, one of kind of the cornerstone atheists, one of the more important ones that's written. He was going to hear George Whitefield speak, and in doing so, someone that knew he was an atheist said, like, "What are you? Have you changed your mind about all this?" He said, "No, but the man, Mr. Whitefield, speaks of hell as if someone who is not pretending and wishes me not to go there." So, it's a it's a strong, important trait of Christians who are real preachers and real ministers. Whether that's Spurgeon, Whitefield, or Jonathan Edwards, that when they spoke of hell, it was with tears in their eyes, not anger in their voice. So, if you, like, there's something wrong in your heart. That's what I'm saying. Something is wrong in your heart if you've come to where the last thing you're going to say to someone is enjoy hell. Next is number 6, which is unjustified claims, which this one you kind of have to feel out. What I mean by that is stuff like, no, you're just wrong, you're interpreting that incorrectly, you have missed the context, like stuff like that, which may be true. It might be true, but it's not enough information for a person to actually conclude what it is you're talking about. you have to feel it out, in that there are certain content creators on, let's say, TikTok, let's say YouTube, that I'll leave a short, brief thing like that because I know that they're going to respond, and then we'll get the dialogue going in small, like, kind of whenever they get around to it, back and forth. But there's certain, like, if it's the first time I've come across a channel, first time I've come across a creator, I'll write out a novel if I need to, in order to put as much detail, much clarity as I possibly can about what the mistake that I believe they're making is, so that when they respond, they have finite points to refer to. And I'll try to keep it at a single point as much as possible as well, so that they have a single thing that they're responding to, not a dissertation, basically. I don't want them to have to pick and choose what to respond to in there. I want to make it as easy as possible for them to understand what I'm saying, and for them to have an opportunity to respond. So that's what I'm saying. Use detail, try to stay on point. And what's even the point of saying you got the context wrong? Because I've seen tons of atheists who are like, you keep saying that I have the context wrong, but you don't tell me what the context is, so you've helped me not at all, basically. I've even said that, like, people keep saying that I'm wrong in this instance, but they don't tell me how or why. So I guess maybe either I'm not, or they're lazy. These last three are the most reprehensible, possibly, other than the enjoy hell stuff, and that's swearing and cursing, or profanity. And I know there are some Christians that they believe that swearing is fine, they flip people off, that they drop F-bombs, and they think that's just fine. I'm obviously not one of those. I think that if you swear a lot, and especially using swear words out of context as kind of synonyms for other words, it's because you're lazy, and it's because you don't have a really well developed or a vocabulary. That's not essentially, that's kind of what I'm getting at. But specifically, telling someone who, like, if you're a Christian and you're telling somebody to F off, telling somebody to go to hell, telling somebody to go, like, those kind of things, telling them that they're donkeys, synonyms for donkeys that are inappropriate, like, you're telling them things like that, you're not portraying Christ well, and you are undermining your own witness, your own testimony. So don't do that. Next is what I refer to as epithetic verses, which epithetic meaning the use of a verse as an epithet, whether that's using, like, Psalm 14:1, talking about how a fool says in his heart that there is no God, or that cast not your pearls before swine, implying or stating that the person you're speaking to, an atheist or whoever, is a pig, or detestable, or like things like that, using the word of God literally to abuse the person that you're speaking to is unacceptable. It's just not, that's incredibly detestable. The fact that you would use literally something that you consider obviously to be true and factual in the literal word of God to attack someone like that, it's, and I get it, I can already hear it, but Paul wanted people to cut off their genitalia and stuff, and my main argument against that is, you're not Paul. If at any point you were to write a book, and that book, the entire Christian community is like, we need to add this as a 67th book, if you ever get to that level, I'll give you a pass on this. But you won't, so please just stop doing this. And last, but, or almost last, is unrighteous accusations. And what I mean by that is where you come up on someone and say that the only reason that they don't want to come to Christ is because they want to hold on to their sin, or the only reason that they don't want to submit to Christ or to be a Christian or to read the Bible is that they're in love with their sin and things, which all of those things might be objectively true ontologically. You don't have access to that person's life to know that for sure. And unless they tell you, I'm a fill in the blank, and the only reason that I'm not a Christian is because I don't want to give that out. Unless they literally say that, you don't have a reason to actually say that. Alright, so please, those are my 9 tops. Please stop doing these. If you don't have something constructive and productive to comment onto somebody's thing, just move on. Just go. Just keep on moving. Like, and I'm not saying that you need to be super trained in apologetics in order to engage with people. What I would say is simply just do one thing, and that's ask questions. Someone posts something on the internet, on wherever you're at, just, how did you come to that conclusion? Why do you think that? Tell me about how you came to this. Like, ask questions and have them defend their point of view, and that alone will probably do a lot to just keep the conversation going and to keep you out of this kind of nonsense. The 10th kind of bonus round that I really want to just kind of keep people away from, if I could, is objectively false claims. So please stop telling people that they've found Noah's Ark. Please stop telling people that the path across the Red Sea has been discovered, because they have not. Please, like, there is so much archaeological records from the Christian church, from the New Testament era. There's the manuscript evidence, there's the historical records, like, there's so much stuff out there that is true. You ain't gotta make stuff up. That's all I'm saying. So please stop literally making things up. Don't refer to YouTube videos where people have made stuff up. Pretty much that, like, just like I said, just ask questions. Learn more about the person. Get to know them on a personal level. You'd be amazed at how productive those evangelistic conversations can be.